It's happening right now in Jerusalem. Prophecies foretold. Something strange is happening in Jerusalem. Something prophetic. For centuries, people have waited, watched, prayed. And now, the world's most sacred city is making preparations. Preparations for what, you ask? For the return of Jesus. The Bible tells us in Zechariah 14 verse 4, "On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, and the Mount of Olives will be split in two." But here's what will shock you. This isn't just about a future event anymore. Ancient forces are already positioning themselves for his arrival, and what they're doing will make your heart race. But before you get excited, I need to warn you about something. What's happening in Jerusalem right now isn't just a sign of hope. It could be the beginning of the most dangerous spiritual deception in human history. Could we be closer than ever to this moment? What if I told you that what you're witnessing in Jerusalem is only the first domino in a chain of prophetic events that, once started, cannot be stopped? What if I told you that right now, in the heart of Jerusalem, there are preparations being made that most Christians don't even know about? Preparations that align perfectly with biblical prophecy in ways that will leave you speechless. What you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about the end times. Because this isn't just theory anymore. This is biblical prophecy unfolding in real time, right before our eyes. Jerusalem is no ordinary city. It is the epicenter of biblical prophecy, the stage where God's final act in human history will unfold. But here's something that will send chills down your spine. This city holds secrets that most people are completely unprepared to face. Listen to this incredible pattern. In 70 AD, the Second Temple was destroyed, exactly as Jesus prophesied. In 1948, Israel became a nation again, after nearly 2,000 years of exile. In 1967, Israel took control of Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. Each event, a prophetic milestone, each moment bringing us closer to the ultimate fulfillment. And now, a new chapter is beginning. But here's what most people don't realize. This chapter might bring more destruction than redemption. It could signal the start of something absolutely terrifying. Jerusalem is preparing for something massive. But what exactly? And why are world leaders, religious authorities, and entire nations watching this city with unprecedented intensity? I'm about to reveal 3 undeniable signs that Jesus' return is near. But I need to warn you, once you see these signs, you can't unsee them. And once this prophetic timeline begins, there's absolutely no turning back. This is where things start to get intense, because the moment the next prophecy is fulfilled, an unstoppable chain of events will begin. Every prophecy leading up to the return of Jesus will unfold at breakneck speed, and the world will never be the same again. Are you ready for what I'm about to show you? The Third Temple. The Third Temple. 2 words that should make every Christian's heart race. But here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. The moment this temple rises from the ground, it will trigger an unstoppable chain of events that will reshape human history forever. For thousands of years, the Jewish people have longed for one sacred thing: the rebuilding of their holy temple in Jerusalem. And right now, at this very moment, we are closer than ever to seeing that happen. But are you ready for what comes with it? Before you think this is all good news, you need to hear what the Bible tells us happens next. Because history shows us that great moments of prophecy often come with great destruction. What will have to be sacrificed to make this temple a reality? And could the Jewish people be walking straight into a prophetic trap they never saw coming? Here's the pattern that will give you chills. The first temple was built by King Solomon in all its glory, but was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BC. The second temple was rebuilt with great celebration, but was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. But here's the question that will keep you awake at night. Why has God allowed this temple to remain unbuilt for over 2,000 years? Could it be that this delay was intentional? That God was holding back something even more powerful until the appointed time? Since then, the Jewish people have waited, prayed, hoped, dreamed of the day the third temple would rise again. But what if their prayers are leading them toward something they never intended? What if they're about to fulfill a prophecy that will usher in the greatest deception in human history? Listen to these chilling words from 2 Thessalonians 2:4. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. Do you see it now? This verse tells us that a temple must be standing before the Antichrist can take control, which means that before the final days unfold, the third temple must be rebuilt. And today, right now, the preparations are already happening. But who is funding these preparations, and why now? Inside Jerusalem, an organization called the Temple Institute has spent decades preparing for the temple's return. They're not just dreaming, they're building. They have already recreated the sacred golden menorah, prepared priestly garments for temple service, restored the silver trumpets and incense altar, and even trained priests to conduct biblical sacrifices. They believe the temple is coming soon, and they're getting ready. But here's where it gets absolutely incredible and terrifying. For the temple to function according to biblical law, it must be purified with the ashes of a perfect red heifer. Numbers 19:2 describes it precisely. Speak to the children of Israel, that they bring you a red heifer without blemish, in which there is no defect. For 2,000 years, no perfect red heifers were available for sacrifice. But in 2022, something absolutely shocking happened that sent shockwaves through the prophetic community worldwide. Could this be the single most overlooked prophecy in modern history? And here's the part that will give you chills. Why would a Christian be involved in fulfilling an ancient Jewish prophecy? There was unprecedented excitement around the world when 5 red heifers arrived in Israel. According to the Jerusalem Post, a Christian farmer from Texas had raised and shipped 5 unblemished red heifers, which were then delivered to the Temple Institute in Jerusalem. Here's the part that should make every Christian pause. These heifers were inspected and approved by Jewish rabbis. Upon their arrival, a group of about 300 people welcomed them, with one person blowing the shofar, a horn used in Jewish ceremonies. The red heifers are now secure on a farm in Haifa, waiting for their prophetic purpose. According to the Old Testament, the appearance of unblemished red heifers is a monumental event. For Orthodox Jews, it is essential to build the third temple and resume the sacrificial system. But some Christians believe that the biblically prescribed perfect red heifer signifies something far more profound. It indicates the end of the age itself. In ancient Israel, a red heifer that was perfect in every way and had never been used for any work was required for spiritual purification. Orthodox Jews require these red heifers to fulfill the purification requirements before building the third temple. Their goal is to obey the Lord's command fully and build the third temple with absolute devotion. But there's a massive problem that could change everything. Up until now, everything seems to be aligning perfectly. But what if I told you this prophecy could spark an international crisis unlike anything the world has ever seen? The spot where the temple is supposed to stand is the exact same location where the Dome of the Rock sits today. This makes rebuilding the temple one of the most controversial and dangerous moves in world history. If construction were to begin, it could trigger global conflict unlike anything we've seen before. Could this be the very battle that sparks Armageddon? Jesus himself warned about this in Matthew 24:6. "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come." Could this be exactly what Jesus warned about? Are we on the verge of something prophetic that will reshape the entire world? But here's something that will chill you to the bone. Many believe the temple will not only be rebuilt, but that the Antichrist himself will enter it and declare himself as God. This moment is called the abomination of desolation. Daniel 9 verse 27 speaks directly about this. "In the middle of the 7 years, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. And on a wing of the temple, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation." This means that while the temple will be a glorious sign for many, it will also set the stage for the greatest deception in human history. Today, religious leaders, politicians, and entire nations are watching Jerusalem with unprecedented intensity. The preparations for the Third Temple are real. The red heifers have arrived. The world is on edge. And the Bible tells us in Luke 21 verse 28, "Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near." So the question that should be burning in your mind right now is this: if the Third Temple is coming soon, what else is about to unfold? And more importantly, are you ready for what happens next? Or are you still spiritually asleep, unaware that the prophetic clock is not just ticking, it's racing toward midnight? Another sign is nations aligning against Israel. The Bible warns that in the last days, nations will gather against Israel in unprecedented ways. But what if I told you that nations are already aligning in ways that match biblical prophecy with terrifying precision? What are we seeing today? Rising tensions between Israel and multiple nations. Anti-Israel sentiment spreading globally. International coalitions forming against the Jewish state. This isn't random political maneuvering. This is exactly what the Bible predicted would happen in the last days. Zechariah 12 verse 3 declares, "On that day I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the nations. All who try to lift it will be severely injured." Jerusalem is becoming a global flashpoint unlike anything we've witnessed in modern history. Stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to reveal to you will change how you see the world forever. Could the battle for Jerusalem be the key event that ushers in Jesus' return? World leaders fear what will happen next, but here's what they don't know. The Bible tells us exactly what is coming. And by the end of this presentation, you'll understand why some of the world's most powerful people are secretly monitoring one specific location in the Middle East. But first, let me ask you this. What if I told you that modern science has just confirmed a 2,500-year-old biblical prophecy? What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, geological forces are aligning perfectly with ancient scripture? You'd probably think I was crazy. The Bible doesn't just say that Jesus will return, it tells us exactly where. And this location will shock you. Not in Rome, where the Vatican sits. Not in Washington, D.C., where global politics unfold. Not in New York or London, where financial empires rise and fall. The King of Kings will return, right here. Now, before you dismiss this as religious speculation, let me share something that will make your jaw drop. Zechariah 14 verse 4 says, "On that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will be split in two from east to west, forming a great valley." Did you catch that critical detail? When Jesus comes back, this is where he will land. And here's where it gets absolutely chilling. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, you need to understand why this specific mountain matters. The Mount of Olives isn't just some random hill that ancient writers picked out of a hat. It's one of the most significant locations in the entire Bible. And when you discover what happened here, you'll understand why this prophecy is so precise. Think about it. It was here that Jesus wept over Jerusalem's future destruction. Here that he delivered his prophecy of the end times. Here that he prayed in agony before his crucifixion. And here where he ascended to heaven, promising to return the same way he left. Are you starting to see the pattern? This mountain has been central to every major prophetic moment in history. And now, the Bible says, this is where he will return. But wait, because something even more incredible is happening beneath the surface. Something that connects ancient prophecy to modern science in a way that will blow your mind. Here's what the experts don't want you to know. Did you know that right now, scientists have confirmed that the Mount of Olives sits directly on a major fault line? Think about the implications of that for a moment. A massive earthquake could split it at any moment, just like Zechariah prophesied over 2 millennia ago. Coincidence? Or prophecy coming true before our very eyes? And this is where science and prophecy collide in a way that no one saw coming. If you thought this was all symbolic, what I'm about to show you next will prove otherwise. Listen to what Dr. Sarah Chen, a seismologist studying the region, recently discovered. We've been monitoring activity along the fault line, and while it remains stable, the pressure has been building for years. A significant shift, like the kind described in Zechariah, could cause the mountain to split. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's science aligning with prophecy. The question that's keeping geologists awake at night is, are we getting close? But here's what makes this even more extraordinary. Right now, as you're listening to this, Jerusalem is filled with tourists, worshippers, and political tensions. But hidden beneath the surface of everyday life, there's an expectation building. A tension you can almost feel in the air. Jewish scholars still debate the coming of the Messiah. Christians watch for Jesus' return. And Muslims believe that their version of the end times will unfold here too. 3 faiths, 1 city, 1 prophecy that will change everything. And here's the part that should make every world leader nervous. Right now, the most powerful people on earth are obsessed with Jerusalem. Why? Because deep down, whether they admit it or not, everyone knows something big is coming. The only question is, how soon? Now, I want you to picture something with me. Close your eyes if you need to. Imagine this scene. One day, maybe sooner than you think, the same feet that walked these hills 2,000 years ago will touch the ground again. The same Jesus who was mocked, beaten, and crucified will return as King of Kings. And this time, he won't be coming to die. He'll be coming to reign. Revelation 19:11 paints this picture. Then I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. This isn't just a symbolic story buried in ancient text. It's real. It's coming. And the world isn't ready. When Jesus returns, no wall, no army, no government will stand in his way. He is coming. The only question that matters is, will you be ready? But there's something even more mysterious about the Mount of Olives that most people never discover. Something hidden beneath its surface. Something science can't explain. But prophecy does. You see, the Bible tells us that this very mountain will play the crucial role in the return of Jesus Christ. And the more we dig into the details, the more stunning the precision becomes. Remember what Zechariah said. On that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will be split in two from east to west, forming a great valley. Did you catch that specific detail? When Jesus returns, the Mount of Olives will split. Not a metaphor, not symbolic language. A literal, physical earthquake. A moment that will shake the entire world. And here's the part that will leave you absolutely stunned. In recent years, geologists have made a shocking discovery. Underneath the Mount of Olives, running like a hidden time bomb, is science unknowingly proving biblical prophecy. There is an active fault line. Let me repeat that because it's so important. This means that the Mount of Olives is already positioned for a massive earthquake. Not someday in the far future when technology advances, but at any moment. Right now. Scientists confirm that if enough pressure builds up along this fault line, the mountain could split in half. Exactly as the Bible predicted. Now, let's think about this logically. The Bible, written over 2,500 years ago by people who had no understanding of plate tectonics or geological science, predicted that the Mount of Olives would split in two. And now, modern science confirms that this mountain sits on a fault line, perfectly positioned for that very event. Is this just a coincidence? Or are we watching a divine setup unfold before our eyes? So here's the question that changes everything. How are we supposed to live our lives in light of Christ's return? We believe that Jesus Christ will return soon, possibly at any moment. Like the Apostle Paul, we eagerly anticipate the blessed hope, the glorious appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. Titus 2, verse 13. But here's where many people get it wrong. Some are tempted to stop their work and simply wait for His return, knowing that it could happen today. That's a dangerous mistake. Listen carefully. There's a significant difference between knowing that Jesus could return today and knowing that He will return today. The exact time of His coming is something that God has not revealed to anyone, and so, until He calls us to Himself, we must continue to serve Him. In Jesus' parable of the 10 talents, the departing king instructs his servants to occupy till I come. Luke 19, verse 13, this means that we must remain actively engaged in serving God and fulfilling His purposes until He returns. Here's what most people don't understand. The return of Christ is always presented in Scripture as a great motivation for action, rather than a reason to cease from it. In 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58, Paul concludes his teaching on the rapture by advising, always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord. In 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 6, Paul concludes his lesson on Christ's coming with these words, so, let us not be like those who are asleep, but let us be alert and self-controlled. Jesus never intended for us to retreat and hold the fort. Instead, we should continue to work while we can. Night is coming when no one can work. John 9, verse 4. Think about this. The apostles believed that Jesus could return during their lifetime. But what if they had stopped working and simply waited? They would have disobeyed Christ's command to spread the good news to the world. The gospel would not have been preached. The apostles understood that Jesus' imminent return meant they must devote themselves to God's work. They lived every day to the fullest, as if it were their last. Similarly, we should cherish every day as a gift and use it to glorify God. Because whether Jesus returns tomorrow or in 1,000 years, One thing is certain: he is coming back. The geological evidence is building. The prophetic timeline is unfolding. And the world is being positioned for the greatest event in human history. The question isn't if he's coming back. It's whether you'll be ready when he does. And more importantly, what will you do with the time you have left? The Mount of Olives is waiting. The fault line is under pressure. And somewhere in heaven, the King of Kings is preparing for his return. Are you ready? Jesus explained the 4 signs will take place. Before the second coming of Christ, these 4 signs will take place. The Bible is a history book unlike any other available in any public library. Its history starts with the Earth's creation and ends with the world's end. This is the only history book that covers such a broad range of events on planet Earth, partially because no one was present at the beginning to witness and document it, and therefore, no one can write the beginning of our world authoritatively. We are the only people in the world who know how it will all end. That is unique. The Lord did not reveal the future to his followers to satisfy their curiosity. He showed it to prepare them so that they would not be surprised when it arrived, and that they would not misinterpret it. Be grateful that Jesus was so forthright in sharing the future for us. People ask, are we in the end times? However, the Bible talks of the last days, and we have been in those last days for 2,000 years. The last days, they started at Pentecost, where the first prophecy of the last days was fulfilled. Every Christian generation should live to be ready for the Lord's return. So, 81% of all Bible prophecies have already come true, and some of those prophecies were made centuries before the case. It doesn't take much confidence to believe that the remaining 19% will happen as well. That's a very high score. The Bible has proved 100% right for every prediction that could have been fulfilled by now. Of the rest, most of them are concerned with the actual return of Jesus and what follows after that. How many of these predictions remain to come true before Jesus returns? The answer is about 20, and we're watching to see those happen first before we look for the Lord's return. Jesus told us to watch and pray. What do we watch? We cannot stand still and watch the clouds to wait for him to appear. That is not what he meant. He meant, keep an eye on what's going on in the world and see what signs I gave you to help you prepare. Signals are the signs. So, let's look at Matthew chapter 24, where the disciples asked him, "What will be the signs or signals of your return?" What would we do if we don't know when it's going to happen? To their inquiry, Jesus gave a direct and unambiguous answer. We can thank God that he responded in such a straightforward manner. In the book of Revelation, he gives a much more detailed and comprehensive response, but here he gives a rundown of the signs that will precede his arrival. The disciples approached Jesus secretly as he was seated on the Mount of Olives. Matthew 24, 3-36. Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?" Jesus told them, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Messiah.' They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars. But don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers, and many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it. And then the end will come. The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out on the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return even to get a coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath, for there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began.